Hello and welcome to Sports Today. You're with me, Rajashri Gupta. This is a special feature. This is a special episode. Given everything that's happened in the Olympics and everything that happens around the Olympics for India also resonates a lot inside the country with the people of the country. Now we're looking at the two medalists so far. One was Mirabai Chanu, of course. She won a weightlifting medal on day one of the Olympics. That was a historic feat. No Indian athlete has ever done that. No ever Indian athlete has ever won a medal on day one of the Summer Games. And of course, Lovlina Borgohain from Assam, she has assured India of a medal in boxing. So of course, that's another achievement. That's another one down for India. But there's a common factor between Mirabai Chanu and Lovlina, both of them from the Northeast. And when we talk of the Northeast, of course, we talk of the beautiful hills, we talk of the scenery, we talk of the lovely people who grace that region. But there is also another serious factor that we have to consider. It's about how people from the rest of the country, how they receive the north people from the northeast. There are accusations, there are instances of racism. Some words like chinky have been unsparingly used against them. Derogatory, absolutely derogatory, and sometimes it's important to ponder over such behavior. I have with me a very special guest, Karma Paljor. Of course, a lot of you know him, a lot of you have seen him on television over the years. Senior journalist, senior news anchor. Karma has been there, done that. An absolute legend in the field, and a very, very vocal and he's very vocal. He's very opinionated about everything that happens around the Northeast, the politics, maybe even the internal strifes, and of course, he understands the challenges of the people, of the youth growing up there. He's, in fact, on Friday afternoon, his thread of tweets, Karma, they resonated very well with a lot of people. I'll come straight to you, Karma. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Today and India Today. Um, you'd be a proud Indian, but this is the thing. A lot of people are saying medals from the Northeast. It's medals for India, medals from two very proud Indian athletes. But why it is important to stress on Northeast here is because of a lot of racism, a lot of marginalization that people from the Northeast face here. Before I come to your experiences, what are these two medals going to do in relation to how the rest of the country, probably especially even the North, the way the North um, looks at and treats their brothers and sisters from the Northeast. What are Mirabai Chanu and Lovlina going to do from here on?
Before I answer your questions about what these two medals will mean for our boys and girls and for the entire region, I will take you on my own journey and kind of describe something that was that made me extremely happy. I think it was last year. I used to go on these long cycle rides because when you're living in Guwahati, finally away from Delhi, where I lived for 18 years, it's just beautiful because 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're out of the city and it's lush green and it's beautiful. So I was cycling towards a lake, a lake formed by an earthquake called Chandubi. It's a magical place. It's beautiful. Uh, so I was cycling, to the lake, and there was a football field, small road, football field, and a slight incline. So as I'm turning, I can't see much. I can see half of the field. So on one half of the field, I could see boys practicing. Boys from the village practicing football, and they were slightly more kitted because they had their shoes, they had their jerseys, and they were playing. They were practicing. And as I turned, because there was a slight incline to this ground, what I saw on the other side gave me goosebumps, because on the other side, I saw girls, you know, they were not in uniform. Some of them were wearing skirts. Most of them were bare feet and they were playing, And when I mean playing, they were really playing. And when one of them shot towards the goal, you could almost hear the bang, you know. And it just gave me so much a joy to see that, because this is just raw, right? And they are just all in it, and they're playing for it, with a lot of passion, and they are loving it. That did for me defines sports in the Northeast, because I see now when I travel across everywhere, our kids are in it, and they are in it, and they want to
mm,
win it, because they want to
mm,
get out of this place. They want to
mm,
make a mark, you know. So that's the fight, I guess, between some of the regions where academics is given much more preference. When you fight to get into the IITs and IIMs, we are seeing a culture where our kids want to win an Olympic medal.
mm,
We are seeing now parents, especially the parents, try to involve their kids and want their kids to win an Olympic gold medal. And Mirabai Chanu and Lovlina Borgohain just make it even more sweeter. You know, they are there, I can reach it.
mm,
Just like Mary Com inspired hundreds of Mary Coms in Manipur. You know,
mm,
and I always believe that we in India have the best footballers, we have the best athletes, we have the best swimmers, we have the best tennis players. It's just that they get lost in the fight with their
mm,
parents, in the
mm.
fight to educate themselves, in a fight to earn a livelihood, in the fight against poverty. All our world champions are lost, but they're out there, and we need to discover them. And that discovery, I believe, what started in Haryana,
Mm,
which is a sporting powerhouse, and that sporting powerhouse I am seeing here back, especially in Manipur. You know,
mm,
Manipur has been a crazy state.
mm.
So I guess we're going to see more Olympians, definitely more Olympians from the Northeast, and I guess across India.
No, and I'm certain also that's a beautiful story to begin with, and that's a beautiful illustration of what sports means to the Northeast. I'll also connect this to what Mirabai's brother told me right after her silver medal. He recounted those days when Mirabai Chanu would go to the woods with her brother and would pick up more wood, more lakdi to cook food. And they said that she could pick up a lot more load than all the brothers put together. And she loved plucking fruits, and that was something very natural. He said that came very naturally to them. Mary Kom recently, just during the Tokyo Olympics, before her pre-quarter finals bout, she said, I'm a Manipurian. Nothing has ever come easy to us. It has always been a challenge. Obviously, every part of Northeast, they have their own challenges, whether Sikkim, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam. Every state has its own challenges, but it also reflects the beauty. I know there are internal strifes as well. Like you mentioned that in your tweet, we've seen some recent instances, but there is this one spirit which connects all of the Northeast together. Is the resilience, Karma? It's so beautiful to see someone like Lovlina. She struggled, by the way. Her mother was not well. She had to help her father out in the paddy fields. Mary Kom too does not come from privilege. We've known about Mirabai Chanu now. So that's a common spirit, whether you're from Manipur, Assam, Arunachal. That's the other beauty, and it's a beautiful story for India as well. That there are athletes willing to fight the odds and then go on to win medals and laurels in the highest sporting spectacle on earth.
I just read a story in the morning of Mirabai Chanu. Her mother
Hmm.
had a tea stall, and all the truckers who used to stop there. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
read that story. All the truckers used to stop there and offer Mirabai a ride, I guess 30, 40 kilometers to a training center in Imphal, because they used to live in the outskirts. Uh, the truckers didn't know that she was going to be a Olympian and a silver medalist and so famous one day. They just did it because they saw a passion, drive. And maybe they didn't see passion and drive and nothing. Maybe they were just kind enough to drop a kid to where she needed to go for training. So that kind of altruism is there, definitely there within the states of the Northeast. To help each other. Um, You will also see instances of politicians very proudly sponsoring a soccer team,
mm,
linked very closely. You'll see people coming together, making their own volleyball court. We have one we are very proud of in
mm,
Rabangla, where every year there's a tournament and people come and play. It's a beautiful volleyball court. It's made, I think, to world standards. It's very well done. It's done by none other than the locals coming together. So this drive is there across, especially for sports. And I think now more than ever, I'm seeing more and more stadiums being built. So more and more training centers. So the
mm,
culture is now, I wouldn't say it's too early to say that that we are even midway. I think we are 30% of or 20% of what we can really do sports wise because kids who climb mountains are strong. Kids who plant rice and help their parents in the fields, they are definitely strong. And the DNA is made in such a way
mm.
that they come ready to play a particular sport. And just like magnificent Mary was nurtured, we just need some good people to nurture, guide these kids and all, and get India even more Olympians from this side.
Oh, absolutely. It's spectacular that is happening. And Lovlina told, said as much in a press conference, said Mary Com is her inspiration. And that's beautiful. Maybe some years down the line, you'll have somebody being inspired by Lovlina winning a gold medal for India. That's just incredible to watch. But, Karma, coming to the other aspect, we're talking about happy things and, it's people winning medals for the country. But there is also a divide. There is also a divide between the Northeast and the rest of the country in terms of racism. And you've been on both sides of the fence. You've been in Delhi. You worked for years. This was where you made your name and reputation. You're now back home. But why does this divide exist? We know of the catcalling. We know of the way northeastern men are treated. We know of the deplorable ways northeastern women are addressed as. Why is the basic question? It's a very basic layman's question, but why is this divide specifically against the north and the northeast, perhaps?
Uh, because we look different. We definitely look different, so we stand out. That's one of the reasons. And you are called names, you are called whatever. Now, the basic thing that's not happened. I mean, catcalling is fine, but we've seen instances where our children have been killed. Nido Tania was brutally murdered on the streets just because he had a different hairstyle. We've had
Mm,
instances in many parts of the country where our youth were lynched, hit badly. So it comes from the fact that we look different.
mm,
It comes from the fact that we are not taught in schools. There is no effort to teach the history of the
mm,
Northeast in school curriculum.
mm,
There is no effort in geography to really make people understand the map of India properly and
mm,
where do. So it's a failure, not just and what it boils down to is a bunch of hooligans who who are ignorant, right? To start catcalling and and be a nuisance for everybody. But from
mm,
that on, you see, if you see it in from that micro incident, if you look at
yeah,
it and magnify it to a macro way, as a country, we failed as a country to really be able to make everybody understand where is Northeast, what it is all about. They have a rich history.
right.
Manipuri sports, if you open up, if you look at sports in Manipur, it's crazy because they invented polo, you
Right.
know. So, it, such rich history, a
Mm,
place where the Mughals could never invade because the naval war on the
mm,
Brahmaputra, led by this mighty Ahom general called Lachit Barphukan,
mm.
defeated the Mughals every time. I think there's a movie being made now. So, there's no attempt to understand the region. There is no attempt to put the Northeast into history books, social study books, or wherever you can, at least give. I think if that is done in
Yeah.
all the languages across in India, then this will
Mm.
stop.
Right.
Um, our sports stars are shining examples, and because of them, because now their photos will be plastered across India,
Mm.
they will help us.
But also, Karma, is this a one-way street? And you were also mentioning instances of where outsiders are also targeted in the Northeast. Do you think that is a fallout, or is this? You said people from the Northeast, they look different. Probably they stand out in a crowd in Delhi. Is it also the same when say somebody from Delhi goes to stay there? What have your experiences been like? Personally, for me as a tourist, I have had a lot of fun in the Northeast. I have really enjoyed the sights, and I thought the people are absolutely beautiful, very well behaved. They've been very welcoming. But you have a much deeper perspective and a much better insight into what happens with residents who are not from the Northeast who are around there. How does it work?
So racism is everywhere. You know,
Hmm.
that's one universal fact. That
Hmm.
I go to the extent of saying that everybody is a racist in a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, in the Northeast, it's slightly different because of the geography of the Northeast, because of how there've been so many years of unrest. We've seen militancy,
Yeah.
we've seen subnationalism, we've seen struggles. So because of that, there is an inherent insecurity, and there is an inherent, what to say, what's that particular word, where outsiders are looked at with suspicion.
Hmm.
You know, uh, but the difference is that you are not judged on the basis of the color of your skin. You are not judged on the basis of your eyes. You are not judged on the basis of how you look.
Hmm.
You will be judged on where you come from, which place you belong to, because they'll have no idea where you come from. So,
Hmm.
distrust of the outsiders is there, yes.
Hmm.
Racism can be subtle. You'll be sitting with a group of them. You'll be welcome. You'll be fed. You'll be served. But they'll all ignore you and speak in their own language. You know, I have subconsciously done it, so I'm guilty of doing that. But it's very subconscious. So it happens here too. It
Hmm.
happens here too. But it's different. It's not like calling you chinky or calling you that, but it happens. And I think the whole of Northeast is also slowly coming to terms with it and accepting. And
Hmm.
just like everywhere there are good people, there are good people here too. So we are accepting of everyone.
Right. No, it's also interesting that you mentioned that that subtlety and probably and not that's not just in the Northeast. Probably a lot of others in India are also guilty of doing that. Especially when it's a multilingualistic country, that happens, and it's very unintentional. And probably all of us have been guilty of doing that. Probably I have been guilty of doing that at some point. It's interesting that you mentioned that. But in a way, before I come to how people like Mary and Lovlina and Mirabai, how they can be used, how their reputation and how their fame can be used to bridge this divide. There is also this other problem in the Northeast that's festering in the Northeast. Again, that was something that you mentioned in your tweet. We've seen recent news developments. There is constant strife around among the regions, among tribes. That is something that is very disconcerting as well, because when you look from the outside, you look at the northeastern people. When you look at Northeast without any sense of prejudice, bias, or inherent ugliness, you see a very beautiful, peace-loving people and region. But there is also a lot of concern. There's also a lot of mistrust within. How is that going to work out, and what is boiling over so much now?
That's our Achilles heel. Uh, you've been to the Northeast, so you understand. But the problem is that I've always said this, and I'll say it once again at the risk of repeating myself. Everybody paints the Northeast with a single brush,
Hmm.
And the mistake that we all do while describing the Northeast or thinking about the Northeast is that we romanticize so much. It's immediately, oh, how beautiful, great rivers, great mountains, lovely people, smiling, great costumes, and that is a problem. And again, that is because there is not enough education in schools regarding the Northeast. So, hence, this stereotype that we carry. Everybody from the Northeast plays the guitar and sings, which is true to a certain degree. But we all don't sing, we all don't play guitar. There are lots of issues between us just because of the fact that there are so many tribes. There are just too many tribes. So there are interstate issues, there are intertribal issues within states, there are international boundary issues. So there is like just so many issues, but the most beautiful thing, and I think this is the silver lining, is that we are slowly coming to terms with it, trying to understand. And as we are coming to terms with it, we just saw what happened between Mizoram and Assam, and that flashpoint at the border, and which led to a tragedy. But slowly and surely, the people of the Northeast are understanding that peace is in the best interest of everybody. And what our sports stars like Mirabai Chanu, Lovlina Borgohain, Mary Com, and so many others, Tarandeep Rai, are doing is that they are uniting Northeast because everybody is proud of them. Naga is proud of Mary Com from Manipur. Sikkimis is proud of Mirabai Chanu from Manipur. Arunachali is sharing her picture. So it's in a way bringing and kind of forging a united identity. Some of my friends argue with me and say, forget that dream of yours. Northeast can never be united. I said, my idea of a Northeast united is not to, oh, I love you, you're my brother, I love you, you're my sister, kind of a bonding. My identity of a united Northeast is purely in terms of economic gain. If you look at the economics of it all, if you look at anything, if you look at horticulture, if you look at the rivers, if you look at the resources, natural resources, we have everything here. We don't need to do much. So that understanding is coming, and the sports represents that, and our sports stars are doing that. Uniting us and making us heard and making everyone. So back in the day when I used to travel to Bangalore on this Guwahati Express, it used to take days sometimes. And when people suddenly would ask me, where are you from? I would say Sikkim. So they say, oh, Bhaichung Bhutia, or before that, before Bhaichung, because Bhaichung Bhutia was my classmate. Before Bhaichung Bhutia, they would say, oh, Danny Denzongpa, So that's what these heroes do. They help in unifying the country. Bridging gaps. And they're not doing it. They don't need to go out and give speeches. They just need to win. And they're already unifying the country.
No, and it's absolutely right. They don't need to go out and give speeches. They're not politicians. They are meant to play. They went to win medals for India. Very nicely said, Karma. Do you think, however, that we've used the power, and I don't mean Northeast. You said that all these legends have united the Northeast together, but the rest of the country, have we used the power and the charisma of, say, a Bai Chung or a Mary? Will we do that with Mirabai and Lovlina? In bridging that gap also, not between the northeastern states alone, but between the northeast and the rest of the country. And I'm sure they'll be influential enough to do that. There is, and also I'll just add another question to it. There were tweets from influencers, from well-known people, from common people from the northeast and the rest of the country. They said now because two northeastern girls have won medals, you're talking about the northeast, which is also not a very bad thing, right? Because I know the way we have treated people from the Northeast has been deplorable and unfair sometimes. But it's not a bad thing when people are talking about bridging this divide, bridging this gap because of sports, because of Olympics. That can't be a bad thing. And that's exactly why you and I are talking about issues that are plaguing not just the Northeast, but the rest of the country as well.
So I'll once again go back to what I said earlier. I mean, I for me personally, a lot of people say okay, what has Baichung Bhutia done for Sikkim? You know, um, I say he's done it and he's doing it. So now Baichung has turned into a politician, and I think just before the European Cup, because he made a particular statement, the opposition party burnt his, uh, effigy, and it became a big issue in Sikkim. So I just clicked a photo of his at the Euro Cup. He's one of the guests, and I said, "Look here, you question Baichung Bhutia every time. What he's done for the state? Has he brought in money? Has he opened a charitable institution? He's done enough. He doesn't need to do anything more. He's made us proud. He's made Sikkim known across India, across world. What more does he need to do?" So similarly here, I would not want any of our athletes, be it Mary Kom, Mirabai, Lovlina, to go around making speeches and bridging gaps. I just want them to be the best at what they are. And hope that Mary Kom plays for a few more years and wins some more laurels for the country. They just have to focus on the sport. And, I do not want politicians to drag them around with them, make them inaugurate things, make them, give them honorary titles, nothing. Just equip them, just give them enough money, just make them comfortable, just let them focus on the sport, just make them excel at what they do best. Not, I mean, I think the role of saving the country is with the army. The role of policing is, going after criminals is with the police. Our athletes need to perform on the field. For me, that's the most important role. And when they are doing that, when they are performing at the highest level and winning a medal, that's job enough. That's job well done for us all.
No, absolutely. So very well said, Karma. Very, very calm. Baichung Bhutia, Mirabai Chanu, Tarandeep, in fact, and Lovlina on becoming the third boxer for India to win an Olympic medal. This is sending out a statement enough. They don't need to speak up. They don't need to go give speeches. They're winning medals for the country at the Olympics, no less. And that is making an impact, and that is making people talk. And that is probably also helping in some self-reflection among people. Like you said, there could be some subtle racism, and people even up in the north, they sometimes say things and address people as using terms which they don't even know. By the way, there are terms I don't want to use on air. There are terms not just for the northeastern people, even for dark skinned people. Terms have been used without people even realizing that there was latent racism in it. And but that is no excuse at all. That is absolutely no excuse, and I hope that stops. I hope that stops, and I hope we look at the heroes. We look at our heroes, and Lovina is the latest, not just for the Northeast. She's the pride of India. She's the pride of the nation. She's the toast of the nation, and hopefully she'll go on and make me change the color of her medal. Of course, she's been assured of a bronze. Hopefully, we're all really hopeful of a gold, something glitzier. Who knows? And that could set up a revolution, not just in the Northeast, but in the rest of the country as far as Olympic sports is concerned. Won't that be a movement? But thank you, Karma, so much for joining us. Only a journalist as experienced as yourself, a man as well traveled, as well read as yourself, and so accomplished like you could have so nicely put into words the extreme polarization sometimes in both parts, and how we are people at the end of the day, right? We all make mistakes, but it is now time for retrospection and introspection. And if two sporting stars, two young girls can help us do that, then why not? Absolutely, why not? Thank you so much, Karma, for joining us. And this shows that sports is a unifying factor the world over, in India, in the Northeast, right through the country. It's such a unifying factor. And we raise our toasts to Mirabai Chanu and Lovlina for their incredible efforts at the Olympics and bringing us to the stage. Thank you so much, Karma. It was just a delight chatting.
Thank you for having me. And before I go, I just want to tell some of our kids are already starting inquiring about fencing because of the action they saw with Bhavani Devi. I think, if I don't have her name wrong.
Bhavani Devi, yes.
Yeah. So I think our kids want to fence now. Let's see. Fingers crossed.
Right. So that's another sporting revolution starting. Right? Why not? Bhavani Devi. Mirabai Chanu, Lovlina, all of them. So why not get more kids to play in sports and further enhance the reputation of the entire country and the Northeast? And it's just such a delight. Thank you so much, Karma. Thank you so much for your views.